Welcome to the Spartan Boxing Break. I'm your host, Dave Carr, and with me is...
Me, Joey Santana. Hello, boys and girls.
Basically what we're going to do a short vlog about what's going on in the world of boxing and pick individual stories throughout the week and try to get some understanding on what's going on with them. So I wanted to talk to you about some recent developments with regards to Canelo Alvarez. I've been seeing some reports, and I saw an Instagram picture of Canelo, and he looked very thin. I've been reading that there's some concern that maybe because there's no tainted meat that his body has leaned and thinned out. Do you see this as a problem? Do you see this as an indication that this might be a sign of him having been on whatever might have been on or so?
When this story broke about the tainted meat, and before he was even suspended, everybody started digging. Lots of digging. What's Canelo's diet like? What does he do here and there? What does he eat in the off when he's between camps? And I remember seeing it several times. His diet didn't include beef like before. I don't know if that was like during training or whatever, but they basically said he didn't eat. It was just like chicken and vegetables. That was it. That was like the main part of it. There was other things in there, but from what I remember, it was just mostly chicken. So now they're saying they're not eating beef anymore. But if there's no beef in his diet, why would that make him so much slimmer?
Looking at pictures of him training for the first Triple G fight, he looked massive in some of those pictures, and he looked pretty big in the ring too. Suddenly, in this picture he posted, pictures can be deceiving. They can show a person in a certain angle, but he almost looks like the picture he posted when he was really young, and he posted it in the mirror, one of the selfies in front of the mirror. Right. He's looking that thin. And to attribute that to, oh, well, before I ate meat and now I don't, well, he's still eating protein. That's kind of...
Right. It's still, that's what I'm saying. If you're just cutting out beef, that's not going to, automatically
deflate you that much.
Reduce your mass the way you're talking. Like, I didn't see the picture, but I have seen him look really thin. But maybe that was at 154 or Canelo weighed at 155, where he was still able to make that weight, but he was really cutting and looked really thin, like for those weigh-ins. And then, he looked the way he normally looks, and that's the way he looked in the Golovkin fight. Like he looked pretty big. I don't remember how he looked at the weigh-in, but he looked like he belonged at 160. He had been basically in the weight division. He was just 5 pounds south. I don't see how cutting out beef is going to make you lose so much weight or muscle or mass, but you're still eating protein. He has to eat protein, doesn't he? He's not going to eat vegetables.
There are fighters like, for example, Tim Bradley, that when he's in many of his fights, he went completely vegan. And of course he ate protein, but it was plant-based protein, and it wasn't necessarily meat-based protein.
Right.
And he looked pretty good and had great stamina through his fights. But let's just say that
Canelo's Mexican. He's not giving up meat.
Well, let's just say that he does come in a lot leaner and a lot thinner than he did in the first fight. What does that do for him, positive and negative?
He showed a wrinkle in the first fight that he can move. Everybody thought he had cement feet.
I thought so.
Right, everybody. Not just you.
I didn't think he was going to be able to move laterally. He surprised the hell out of me.
It's the only reason the fight kind of went the way it went. It was the only reason that it stayed close, because I think if he stayed in the pocket sooner or later, he gets caught.
Yeah.
He got caught. He actually did well in some of the exchanges in the pocket, too. Yeah. I think a leaner, thinner Canelo will be able to do more of what he was able to show us in the first fight and be able to move and evade a lot of Golovkin's attack. I think the obvious con would be he wouldn't have enough mass on his body to take that punch that he was able to take the first time. But people are going to question the fact that whatever he was doing with the clenbuterol and all that stuff, did that help? I don't think that plays into your chin or whatever, anything like that. But whatever he was doing along with it, all that combined, yeah. So if he had to cut that out, if he was regularly doing that, if he had to cut that out and everything else, and he had to change, and he comes in leaner, there is a pro and there is a con. And the con would be that he would be probably not well enough to take that punch as he was in the first fight.
One of the advantages of the PEDs is not just being able to pack muscle, but also the fighter is able to train harder, train longer, and thus develop more stamina in a fight. So let's say that he was using PEDs before, and his stamina, which usually in many other fights he would gas out
But he
after.
did gas out in this fight too. The
But
first
not, but,
Golovkin fight, he
yeah,
gassed out.
but with the amount of movement and the amount of activity he had in the ring, he's gassed out with a lot less than that before. So I saw a huge improvement in his stamina in this last fight with Golovkin. But if it goes back, and let's say that now he's not on something like that, do you think it's going to affect his stamina? Even if he comes in leaner, do you think he's going to gas out like he's gassed out before in other fights earlier?
Coming in leaner kind of like offset some of that. You've seen him gas out in a lot of fights. When Austin Trout gave him trouble, he had trouble with Lara late in the fight. He couldn't keep up with Lara. Maybe he learned some of Danny Jacobs did to Golovkin to try to last. And, Danny Jacobs threw in like 10 wrinkles, aside from going southpaw half the time, but he was moving a lot. And maybe Canelo learned that. But maybe he also learned it from how Lara was able to evade him and make that fight close by the same way. I still think he'll gas out. And you know what? If he doesn't have the mass to be able to take a lot of Golovkin's punishment, I think he'll gas out quicker.
I think so, too. And I think that he's going to land some good shots. He's not going to have the mass that he had before in his body to make as much damage as he did in the previous fight, because that did help keep Golovkin off of him for the first half of the fight until Golovkin decided to change a little bit of his plan and give a little bit more angles to get inside and start catching him.
You know what else? You know what else will help him gas out? If Golovkin actually goes to the body this time. Because he could have finished Canelo had he gone to the body.
What I didn't like in what Golovkin did, and this is aside from what we're talking about, but I just want to throw it in, is that Golovkin didn't cut the ring. He chased him throughout the whole ring. He headhunted it. He was headhunting.
It was odd.
But
I would say that they weren't prepared for the movement that Canelo threw at them. So, hey, cheers to Canelo for throwing in that wrinkle. They know what to expect this time. And, I don't think either guy's going to change that much. Maybe Canelo will still do what he did because he knew he got a gift draw out of it. And maybe this time, if he could just stay in the pocket a little bit more and nullify some of whatever Golovkin does with the movement, then, maybe he can get a close victory.
Here's what I think. I think
7-5 or whatever.
I think this guy was doing something. I think he hasn't been able to for this, and they're banking on Golovkin being a year older or whatever. The time has passed, and he's slowing down, and they're counting on those eggs in the basket to try to pull off the victory or at least another draw. If it's another draw, I mean they had some lawsuits in the last fight, people looking for refunds and small claims lawsuits to get their money back for the draw because they didn't believe it was a draw. So the backlash, if there's another draw, the backlash is going to
be. You know what? If they lose this fight, if they lose it like dramatic fashion, like a knockout or like a blowout, 10 rounds to 2 or something, I don't see that. But I'm just saying, if it happens, people are going to question him coming back. And let's say he was doing clenbuterol the whole time, and now he's not, right? Because now he's back in VADA, whatever.
Right.
People are going to question him coming back and taking this fight. His fans are going to be like, why did you come? If you're going to start doing something new, like you're off the drug, now you're not eating beef, they probably changed the way they train. They probably added more things they probably incorporated more stuff like, towards his movement because they did have some success with it. If they lose in a bad way, they're going to get questioned for taking this fight immediately because, all of the new stuff that they're kind of throwing in or maybe adding to what they did in the first fight. Wouldn't you want to test that somewhere first?
Sure.
Even
but what
comedians throw out new material. They don't just they go to little shitty comedy clubs. They test it on audience before they put like a whole set together and do their HBO special or whatever. Who do you test it out on? He had other options. He didn't have to fight Golovkin. They were talking to Jacobs. They were talking about a lot of things.
He is the boxing cash cow right now. He's the one that's drawing in fans and still getting pay-per-view numbers that make sense to have a pay-per-view fight.
Well, put him in the ring with somebody shitty and see how the pay-per-view numbers are.
Well,
because Canelo is like Miguel Cotto. He always needed a dance partner. Cotto never sold. Casual fans didn't know Sergio. That fight did 350,000 pay-per-views. Yeah. When Cotto fought, Pacquiao or Mayweather or Canelo, all of a sudden he sold. See, that's what I mean. Give Canelo a dance partner and he'll sell. Give anybody a good dance partner and
but
he'll
if
sell.
you give him somebody like Billy Joe Saunders, that's the potential of Billy Joe Saunders of outboxing him. If you put him in with Danny Jacobs, there's the potential of Danny Jacobs either outboxing him or knocking him out. The guys that they could potentially make money fights with out there, I really think that the safest, because they already have experience with, it would be Golovkin. And I think that they're going to try to emulate what they did last time and hope that Golovkin has slowed down. But I don't think it's going to work. I think Golovkin is going to catch him after 7th or 8th round. I think Golovkin will catch him towards the later rounds once Canelo starts gassing out, and I think that they're going to throw in the towel. That's my prediction in this fight. People are saying Golovkin is old, and people are saying, "Oh, no, I don't buy any of that crap." This dude is training in the clouds. Hey,
it's not like he had wear and tear in his last fight either.
No, he didn't get hit with anything. I mean,
he did at the end of he got hit with one at the end of the first round. That was about it.
He got hit with the one at the end of the 12th round is what he got hit with the draw. So.
No, I'm talking about the Vanis Martrosian fight. He got hit at the end of the first round, and everybody said, ooh, and then the next round he said, okay, I'm fucking you up now, and he knocked him out.
I guess I have to see Canelo on the scale and see how he looks compared to Golovkin. If he looks that much thinner, if he looks that much weaker, then I think it's all that's it for him. And Oscar's going to have to look for another cash cow if he can find one.
No, I mean, he'll still make money with Canelo. Don't you worry.
Sure. He can still make money with Canelo, but he doesn't have many options. I mean, if he goes down to 154, he's going to have to face the likes of Jared Hurd or the Charlo, Jamal or a Munguia fight will make a lot of sense at 154, but I don't even think he survives that. I mean, he can outbox Munguia, but if Munguia starts catching him and with the stamina that Munguia has, he would have a lot of trouble and he would come out pretty bruised at the end of that fight, whether he wins or loses.
I didn't love the way Munguia looked in his last fight.
He didn't look very good. It's obvious he's 20-something years old.
And Liam Smith gave him all kinds of problems, and Canelo already proved he beat Liam Smith, and he wound up beating him at his own game. He was getting outboxed early in that fight, and then Canelo kicked the shit out of him. I think Canelo would. I think he would take Jaime Munguia to school, actually.
Well, then, no prediction from you.
Oh well.
A knockout from me in the late rounds. That's going to be it for today's vlog for the first Spartan boxing break.
Adios.
As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you like our show, leave your comments below, and we'll see you in our next episode. Yo tengo azuquita en la cintura.